Hello and welcome. More and more often I'm seeing videos of millennials ruthlessly purging, decluttering like crazy, like there's no tomorrow, and essentially starting over with less. Maybe that's because that's what's trendy right now, or maybe because it is a blend of several factors, cultural, social, and economic, that are contributing to this. And that's exactly what I would like to talk about in this video today. The first reason why millennials turn to minimalism is as a reaction to overconsumption and overspending culture. We as millennials grew up in an era of excessive spending. We used to see huge closets on TV, basically the size of an apartment, and it was just never-ending bombardment with ads anywhere you go. Many people are finally waking up to the idea that all of this has essentially consequences of environmental degradation, financial instability, and societal pressure to keep up with the latest trends. In response, enter the movement of less is more and reject more is better. The next reason would definitely be financial pressures. Many millennials came of age of the Great Recession, student loans, and extremely high cost of living. A lot of the time, the consequences that we find ourselves in dictate the way we choose to live. And nowadays, millennials clearly see that it just feels so impossible to buy a home, to start having children, or to have a mortgage and to travel at the same time. Combining those two is really difficult. So then you essentially have to settle for a different lifestyle than you envision yourself having when you were a teen, that by 25 you'll have a house, a few cars, maybe a few kids, a fulfilling career, and maybe an occasional mental breakdown. Only to find out you're gonna end up with only one of those things. Constant mental breakdown, that is. The next reason is digital overload and information fatigue. As millennials, we were essentially the first generation to be immersed into this digital age and experience this extreme overload of social media, emails, apps, news, to the point where I just want to delete all of my profiles from social media from everywhere and not even bother. Also, a little bit off topic, but my absolute best life hack for not receiving any spam email is to create a separate Gmail account just to sign up for various apps or any kind of other newsletters, because that is absolute lifesaver. That email only gets checked from time to time, maybe for verification purposes, but that's where all thousands of junk mail goes, and I only have this one email that I gave to a few people, so anytime I do receive an email that I can read, I know it's a legit one. The next reason is desire for experiences over material goods. Many value travel, relationships, and personal growth way more than acquiring things. I will be driving my car until the wheels fall off, but I will not use that money to upgrade for a newer car. I would rather use that money on a trip. This also ties to experience economy, which followed shortly after 2020. Remember back when we used to sit at home and do nothing but order things online and enjoy the packages coming in? We essentially were doing nothing but consuming. Additionally, the era of influencers and shopping hauls just doesn't hit the same anymore. The next reason is there are definitely psychological and emotional benefits to minimalism because we live in such a high-paced and high-stressful environment. Clutter has been shown and proven to have a very negative impact on our cortisol levels and emotional and mental health, as well as anxiety and overall feeling of constant overwhelm. By embracing minimalism, especially for those who work from home or are spending a lot of time in their primary space, people can finally create a place of order and calm. Not only do millennials embrace minimalism, of course, other generations do too, and it's so amazing to see us as a community grow and share tips and support and uplift each other. But I do think that's talking specifically about the group of millennials, we were hit pretty hard by a lot of things in life, and that as a result forms our habits, lifestyles, and things how we choose to basically act and live. The last benefit I would like to cover is flexibility and mobility. I already talked a little bit earlier about how millennials are obviously not able to afford homes these days, and so when you move from place to place, from an apartment to an apartment, of course it's easier to move when you have a lot less things. Additionally, gone are the days when you would get a job and work at that place for the next 40 years. Nowadays, layoffs are so common and nothing is constant, nothing is stable. Even the most solid jobs where you think, okay, this is really good, I know this company needs me, the next thing you know is you're scheduled an HR meeting. Having to move apartments or states exponentially gets a lot more expensive the more things you have accumulated and the more things you have to move and pay for, especially when it comes down to heavy, bulky furniture. Thus, this mobile, so to speak, nomadic lifestyle is very popular among millennials. And I do remember the days of my youth as well, when I moved to the US with only 2 large suitcases and 1 carry-on, and that was pretty much all my life to start over. All of my possessions just fit into such small space, and then when I got married, my husband and I, we could fit all of our possessions just into 1 car. Now, I still live a pretty frugal and minimal lifestyle, but because you have furniture, once you settle in, it is still really difficult to move from place to place. To summarize, for millennials, this is more than just a trend. This is a reaction or a response to the pressures of modern life. It's a response to overconsumption culture. It's prioritizing what's truly meaningful, cutting out all the noise, and creating something that's sustainable, brings us happiness, and essentially is aligned with our values. Something interesting I've noticed is because I speak 4 languages, I often check on minimalism and conscious consumerism in other cultures and countries as well. So I basically just type in, what minimalism topics are trending in that language, and I see creators from those countries, and I just kind of see where the trends are shifting and how people are reacting, reading the comments. And something interesting I've noticed is that in America, people definitely have a lot more disposable income to begin with, and we also have a lot more space to fill the home with stuff. Because if you think about it, if you live in Europe and you live in a pretty walkable city, then you do not need a car. And if you do not have a car, then whenever you go shopping, you can only carry so much in your hands. Whereas in America, we could just stuff the cars and then have that dolly carry things around. And it's these endless trips to the store, to the car, from the car to the home, to the garage. In Europe, this topic of conscious consumerism is also trending, even though people already live in relatively small places and already live fairly minimal lifestyle. However, if you notice in the US, everything is so severely focused around the topic of convenience. And notice how there's no convenience to public transportation or things that we actually need or care about. The convenience only comes down to shopping. If you place an order, it's going to be at your door in 2 hours. This is so convenient to have a strip mall with just like 5 or 6 stores that you shop at. Everything when it comes down to convenience is just about spend, which is how we end up with a lot of things we don't need. And I really do love this idea of just stopping, zooming out, rewinding, going back. I often think about how my ancestors lived a very simple life and things that they created, things that they did day to day, and it just kind of warms my heart to know that in a way I can live in certain aspects of my life the way my ancestors did as well. Now, if you're currently feeling very overwhelmed and overstimulated and you don't even know where to start, here's one suggestion or where you can start. Pause and write 3 things down that overwhelm you the most. And this is different for everybody. You might be overwhelmed from digital apps and notifications on your phone, or clutter laying all around you, or have worries about money or all-encompassing debt. But identify the top 3 things that overwhelm you the most and start there. Work from most to least. If you're overwhelmed by digital notifications, go through your phone, delete the app, leave the important ones, cut everything else off, because starting somewhere, even if it's starting small, is better than not starting at all. The next videos I plan on working on Minimalism 101, 201, 301, and 401. Basically and essentially progression of becoming more and more conscious of things you own and how those things can better serve you. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that going forward we're able to find joy and happiness in things that are not material, but things that make us truly happy and lasting, and have lasting effects on our life. Please subscribe. Thank you, and see you soon.